Right on, everybody. It is Kelly, and I am back. If you watched the video just before this one, it was a quick demo on how to set up a Jamberry NAS Marketplace designer page. And you need that designer page in order to be able to create your own custom nail wraps in the Jamberry Nail Art Studio. And then you also need it in order to be able to set up your design shop so that you can sell your custom designs. But now we're getting to the good stuff. So I am going to flip you over real fast to my design page and show you how you are going to be able to set it up to create your own custom nail art. So I'm on my page right now. If you don't have one set up, go ahead and check out that video real fast and then come back here. And I'm going to log in, have my credentials set up. And then remember, we're going to click the icon for Nail Art Studio up toward the top. And this is what's going to take us to the dashboard. And in the dashboard, this is where we get to access the entrance into the studio where we can create our own stuff with the tools. I'm going to click this box over here that says Create New. And if you are familiar with the Nail Art Studio from before, this is brand new. And for those that are brand new, this is what you're going to see for the first time. Before you can even design, you need to create a design name. And don't fret if you just have a general idea, but you haven't come up with the winner that you want it to officially be called. No big deal. Just come up with something now, and we can go ahead and change it later on, which is super flexible. I love so many of the features in the new marketplace. This is one of them. I can't tell you how many designs in the past I've named, and then I've come up with something better, or I've tweaked it and I needed an alternate version. And it was a challenge to go back and try to figure out how to rename it. This is very straightforward. So I already have a concept for the design that I'm going to do. And so I'm going to call this Greek Spring. And if I decide later on I want to change it, totally cool, I can do that. Now that I have a title, I'm ready to get started. And this is where the magic happens. If you can't tell how excited I am about the Nail Art Studio, as soon as you start to play around, you're going to start to get that same bit of excitement. So now that we're looking at this home page, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what it is that you're looking at. So this is where the actual designing occurs. If you scroll down here toward the bottom, this area right down here is the layout of what a sheet of nail wraps will look like. This is the template. So a sheet of nail wraps has 19 nail shields on them. Currently, right now in the Nail Art Studio, we're only able to design in what is considered the standard size. We're not able to design in juniors. So when you're looking at this template, this is your option. You're going to see 2 rows of nail shields, starting from the large on the left to the smallest on the right. And you're able to click through and individually select each nail shield. You're going to apply an image to each of these nail shields without leaving any blank. If you leave any blank, or if you don't have full coverage on a nail shield, it's going to come back unapproved, and you're going to need to go ahead and make those corrections so that you don't have empty space printing when you actually order your nail shield, or a potential customer orders their nail shields. So there's the template down there. When you're actually looking at a selected nail shield, you're going to see here that there's a ruler. You're able to click over the icon, the ruler icon, and remove it if you want to see what it looks like unobstructed. But when designing, I highly suggest using that ruler because it's a great guideline for placement of the image, and you're able to be a little bit more intentional when you're designing. You have to kind of keep in mind people's length of nails, what it's going to look like when it prints, all that jazz. Now that I have this up, I also want to show you this dotted line. This dotted line is the whoopsie-daisy zone. You want to make sure that your image has a lot of what they call bleed. You want a lot of additional image to surround the nail shield so that when it prints and when it's cut, you don't stand a chance of also creating that empty space. I'll talk more about that in just a sec. But up here at the top, shapes. What? Look at all of these different templates that Jamberry has given us. They are all able to be custom colored, resized, repositioned. You can layer them for really amazing effects. And if you generally think about designs that you see out in the world around us, They're just all made of shapes. So if you can break down an image in your head to shapes, you can pretty much recreate the world around you. It's kind of spectacular. So we have shapes, we have patterns. So in the pattern category, a lot of these are ones that Jamberry has used in the catalog in the past. Some of them are really, really popular. So we have the floral design. I'll show you what that looks like quickly. I've just clicked it and applied it. And this has shown up in the past quite a bit. We also have arrow, stripes, both skinny and thick, polka dots. The ribbons are super popular, especially for those that like to create fundraisers. Be generous. One of Jamberry's founding ideologies is being generous. And fundraisers are a great way to do that. Quatrefoil is another really big one for graduates. We also have graduation caps. And then also periodically throughout the year, Jamberry will update the year. So right now it's still 2016, but how many ways could you, it's just mind-boggling. So many options. Okay, and then you can also put text. So this isn't text that you would create and then bring into the Nail Art Studio. You can actually just add text to your design from inside the Nail Art Studio. It prints very crisp, very cleanly. You're also able to change the color of the text, reposition, relocate. I'll show you really fast. And it gives you a small selection of samples to choose from. So I have the word sample here that I did. You're able to see that I can shrink and enlarge it. I can use the tail over here to rotate it. And now that I have it selected, as you can see, if it's not doesn't have a box around it, it's not selected. If I click on top, it's now selected, and I can go ahead and also change the color. So say I wanted to make it like a mustard yellow. Then I would click apply to this particular nail shield I'm working on. And then you can see down here in a large view, which is what that grid is, there's my word sample. You can also see here that I would need to go back and resize. This is why using this sample preview is a great way to get an idea for what your nail shield will look like before you submit it for approval. Right now I know I'm going to need to resize it because part of the lettering is cut off. So I would go back to that individual nail view, highlight it again so that I get my corners, and then I'm able to shrink it. I also don't like it on that angle a little bit, so I can just grab the tail and wah, wah. Boom. And then just make sure to apply any changes that I've made. Now, say that I really like where I put this wording, and I like the way that it looks, but I don't want to have to go through all of that to get it on any of the other nails. So I would go ahead and I would click apply. And maybe I want to put it on the top row third. Maybe I want to put it on the bottom row fourth. And then I would click apply. And then boom, super easy. Because this nail shield is a little wider, I might want to enlarge this a little bit. So I would just make sure to highlight the nail shield that I want to work on. And then I would highlight it and enlarge it a bit. And then click apply to make the changes. And now those changes have only occurred to the nail shield that I was working on. So you can see that this one is still smaller. This one is a little larger. Lots of ways to customize this. If I like this, and now I want to be able to have it reversed so that I have it on both ends of my nail shield, I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to go to duplicate. If I were to move it down right here like this, you can tell here's the cuticle, and the sample word is facing away. Here's the cuticle. If I leave it just like this, and I don't rotate it, then the sample word is not going to print the same way as this. It's going to print facing me on one end and away from me on the other. So that's fine if that's what you intentionally want, but if you duplicate something and the image is not a mirror image, then you're going to want to make sure that you rotate it before you submit it. Those little details, no big deal. And then I'm going to apply. And there you go. Now if you look at it, here's the cuticle, sample is facing away. Here's the cuticle and sample is facing away. The other tools that are up here at the top are what I will get to when I'm getting ready to submit the design. They are, this bracket right here is kind of a good reminder. This is while you're designing, and this is after you're designing. Say I am in the middle of something. I'm working on this, and then all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, or it's time to go run an errand or do something. So I need to walk away from this designing at this moment. Or sometimes I'm just not feeling the flow of what I'm doing and I need to stop and come back to it. Just make sure you click save. It does periodically save on its own every time you make a change, but it's good to get in the habit of just clicking save before you walk away from a design. And now I can go back to that main screen. What's going to pop up is this little icon right here. I don't have anything saved in that first nail slot. Slot 1A is what's going to be called your thumbnail. That is that thumbnail image that will be the example that shows up inside your nail art studio. Because I haven't assigned a design to that nail shield number yet, that's why it's blank. But when I pop this up, you can see here, there's a little pencil that says in progress. That means I'm not finished with the design. It has not been submitted for approval, so it's still a work in progress. If I come down here and I see the pencil, I can now go back and edit that same design, continue working on it. If I like what's going on and I want to start again later on, similar, but make a few changes, I can copy it. It will create a duplicate, and instead of saying Greek Spring, it will say Greek Spring clone. I can still do all of the same things that I could do with the original. I can change the title, make adjustments on the design. It will just have a different design number. And then if I want to scrap what I'm doing all together, I can click delete. Right now I want to go back and continue showing a bit more. So this right here, this upload section, if you're deciding to design using the Nail Art Studio, but elements from outside of the Nail Art Studio, say you've purchased digital paper, or you've created an image on your own in image editing software like Photoshop or Microsoft Paint, then you're going to create that outside of the Nail Art Studio, but then when you're getting ready to use it to design, you're going to need to upload it into the Nail Art Studio. And this is predominantly how I design. In the very beginning, I started off just using the tools that were in there until I got more comfortable. And now I almost design exclusively outside and bring images into the Nail Art Studio. But I have images loaded here. All that I did was click upload. Then I went to the file on my computer that I saved the image in. I double-clicked it, and I brought it into the Nail Art Studio. Say that I have completed a design and it's already met approval. And I don't need to keep the image stored in here any longer because I've already used it and the design has been approved. If I hover over at that design, I can click the trash can and get rid of it. And then boom, it's gone. And this is also another design element that I don't need to use anymore. But so I have these 3 images up. These are the 3 that I intend to use in my design. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the 1A. When I design, and I'm looking at the 1A and the 2A, typically those are not people's thumbnails, the largest nail on your hand. Some people do use them as thumbnails, but when I'm designing, I try to keep in mind that they could be thumbnails, but mostly they might be used for pedicures. This could be the big toe, and these could be cut to use for the smaller toes, or this could just be a second big toe. I want to make sure that whatever I'm putting on these, if it does end up getting cut for little toes, that the image is not lost. When you cut something up small, sometimes you lose the bigger picture, and I don't want to do that. So I try to keep the thumbnail image, the large 1A, pretty generic, either with a solid color or with a repeatable pattern. That's why when you're looking at my Nail Art Studio Marketplace designer page, a lot of the thumbnails look like solid colors. So what I will say is, as you're browsing through the marketplace and you're looking through designers' images, that thumbnail that you see, if it's a solid, don't assume that that entire sheet is going to be a solid. Make sure you click that image, and then when you go to the actual details of the design, there's going to be a full sheet image of what that design looks like. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to have some amazing detail on it. So just make sure you check that out, because not everything you see is just going to be a sheet of solid color. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click upload the image that I've saved, and I'm going to use this Aegean looking blue. And I made sure that I have it aligned to where I have tons of additional space around the whoopsie-daisy zone. If I were to leave it like that, you can see that the background is not fully covered. So I want to make sure that it is fully covered, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it to that one. Some people choose to do one design all the way across the entire sheet. Jamberry has several designs that are like that. I tend to like to put multiple images, multiple elements on my nail sheet because it automatically is a built-in accent nail, and there's a bunch of coordinated images that people can choose from. And it also leaves a ton of flexibility for wearing that sheet as like throughout the different times that you apply your nail wraps. So my go-to, I guess you'd call it, is to apply typically 3 different designs on a nail sheet. Sometimes I go 2. And because I do 3, I think 1 original, 2 original, 3 original. And then I go back to the first one. So it's like my design, skip, skip. That design, skip, skip. That design, skip, skip. So I'm going to apply to 1A. Man, I think I did a crummy job explaining that, but hopefully this will help you. And then I'm going to skip 2. And then I'm going to apply, and then the last 2 I won't use. When I go down to the bottom, instead of matching the exact same nail shields, I like to give variety because sometimes that color isn't going to, or that size isn't going to be the perfect fit for whomever gets this sheet. You can totally trim and apply, but I like to give a little bit more options right off the bat. So I just adjust it 1, and then I skip, skip. 1, and then I skip, skip, and then apply. When I click apply, now that Aegean blue is on all of those nail shields, and I didn't have to do each one individually. Rad, right? That's totally rad. Okay, now I'm ready to go to 2A. And I think this time I'm going to apply these discs. But when I pop it up, as you can see, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think they're a little large. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the corner and shrink it down just a little bit so that I think it applies a little bit better. And I like things a little off center. It adds, it's a little bit more interesting. So I might rotate it. Oh yeah, totally digging that. Okay, now that I have it rotated the way that I want, I've made sure that I have a ton of additional space. I'm going to go ahead and click apply just to that one so I can see what it looks like. Yep. Actually, I think I'm going to inch it up just a tiny bit and apply it again. Bingo. Okay, totally loving that. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same formula that I do. Skip 2, apply, skip 2, and apply. When I come down to the bottom, I'm going to shift. You guys can do this, apply however it is that suits you best. I change it up constantly. By the time I get to the finished product, no telling how many times I've adjusted it. So now that the wraps have gotten a little bit more narrow, I'm not loving how that applies. So I think I'm going to change the narrower ones. And see how I like that better. Yep, definitely like that better. This is the beauty of the Nail Art Studio. It is non-committal, truly non-committal, because as you're designing, if you like it, great. If you don't, you can scrap it. You can change it. You can alter it. Even after I've submitted a design for approval, I can still go back later on and copy that design and make adjustments if I decide that I want to metamorphosize it. Or say somebody's contacted you for a custom request. Say that they like one of the images on the nail sheet that you put on there, but they want just that one sheet and not a sheet fully. If you're willing to make those kinds of adjustments, it's super easy to be able to do that. So now I'm going to go back and apply my third. This was just for an example, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of what I've done on these, and I'm going to highlight the word and delete it and do the same thing down here and apply it real fast. A nice clean image all over again. And now I'm going to go and apply my Greek key. I love the Greek key look, but I think it's a little too small, so I think I'm going to enlarge it a bit so it doesn't seem as busy. I don't want to enlarge it so much that I lose the effect. And when it comes to repeatable patterns, I don't know, it's all just a preferential thing for the most part, but I can get pretty finicky about how it looks. I kind of like the way that looks right now. I know it's not completely centered, but I'm going to go ahead and test apply it to see what it looks like. And now that I have 3 images together, I'm going to go and click my sample preview so that I can get an idea of what it looks like. I actually really dig that. I like it. So now I'm going to go back, and I think I am ready to apply it to the rest of my designs. So as the word sample on it, if I go ahead and I apply this design to 6A, it is going to only put what I have on 3A over here. So this will not be there any longer. Make sure that when you're selecting multiples that you're intentional about which numbers that you choose so that you don't accidentally get rid of work that you've done. There is not currently right now an undo button. You would just need to go back and recreate what it is that you accidentally removed. So I have my design in 3, skip, 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 skip. And now I am going to go to 1, 4, and 7. Hit apply. And that is what the sheet would look like if I were to submit it when it was approved and then print it. I'm going to go ahead and do the detail section right now. I am going to keep the title as Greek Spring. A little glitch in the coding right now. I know that the Nail Art Studio Marketplace is undergoing some growth. Obviously, we're getting ready to, or we now have the ability to put our designs up in a design page, which is amazing. But I am going to go back really fast just to make sure that I have the full preview. When you get ready to submit your design for approval, you're also going to get a sample image of what your sheet looks like. And you can see here, I have the title, but I haven't put the description in and I haven't put tags in. No big deal. This is all stuff that can be done even if you have forgotten this step or say that you've put something in and you wanted to change it later on. It is not a big deal. You now have the flexibility to go back and make adjustments after the fact. So if I were to leave this just like it is, and I'm ready to publish my design, there are a few steps you have to do before it officially goes to the approval team. You have to decide whether or not you want to keep it as a private design or if you want it to be a public design. Say I send it in for approval, but I leave it as private. It will not be available and will not automatically pop into my store upon approval. That's possibly something that could happen if you have a design you're creating just for yourself, but you don't want other people to have it. I know that I just want my design to automatically become available in my store. So when it's approved, when it's given the thumbs up, I just want it to have want it to be published. Then you're going to come down here and you want to make sure that you've read this, especially if this is your first time in the Nail Art Studio. There are a few terms and conditions that go along with using the Nail Art Studio. They are down here. If you have not read the full terms and conditions, I just suggest you click it and give it a read over first. Then you would go ahead and click I agree and submit. This screen that pops up is just kind of like an FYI. Everybody's screens are different and the way that the colors are depicted on them is different. So what shows up on my screen color-wise might appear differently on even somebody sitting next to me using their device. This is just a heads up saying that how you're seeing it on your screen might vary a little bit to how it prints. It also is just kind of giving you a reminder about that safety zone, that whoops-a-daisy zone. And then when you're ready to go, you would click Submit My Design. And then the magic window pops up. The one that makes me so happy. It's making me wait for it. And boom, your design has been submitted. So it says, congrats, you're that much closer. You'll get an email based on the account that you've set up. That email will tell you if it's been approved or denied. If it is denied, it will give you a reason for it. Sometimes it could be because the image isn't fully covering the nail template. Sometimes it could be that the image you're trying to use is copyrighted or something along those lines, but it will tell you in a note. You're able to go back in and adjust it. You don't have to start from scratch. Now I have the option to either create a new design immediately, or maybe I just want to go back and look at my dashboard. You can see here that instead of a pencil from in progress, it now has 3 dots that says pending. When it says pending, that just means you have finished the design and you have submitted it for approval, and now you're just waiting for the word. And that's basically it. From here, it won't allow you to edit and it won't allow you to shop because it's not approved, but it will allow me to copy the design if I want to and start working on another project using those images, or I can just delete it. The people icon up here means that when this is approved, it's going to be public. If there is a lock, it means that the design is private. Any design that is in progress will be private. Any design that is considered fan art or fan inspired will be considered private. And any design that you choose to keep to yourself will be considered private. Unless you switch it over to public, all designs that you create will automatically be private. And that's pretty much the bananas of it. That's the basics of using the Nail Art Studio. Man, I can't wait to see the universe explode with a bunch of amazing nail art. If you have questions, if I skipped over something, or if you're not understanding something that I said, please feel free to comment below and hit me up on my fan page. I have been an avid user of the Nail Art Studio now for 3 years almost, and I have been aching to get more people to try this incredible version of nail art. It is very user-friendly. It does get easier, just like riding a bicycle, and it is an amazing way to be able to get your self-expression on. So fun fingers up for creativity, y'all. Have fun, play around, jam on.